Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about something pretty cool, electric air taxis.
Yeah, you might have heard of them as eVTOls,
Yeah, hey
and
Hills.
we're going to be looking at Joby Aviation specifically. And
Right, a company that's really trying to make these things a reality.
yeah, so first of all, I think it's really interesting to look at the broader landscape.
Hmm?
There are all these companies, Archer, Lilium, Ehang,
Oh yeah, I've heard of a few of those.
all trying to kind of crack to
Yeah.
this challenge of urban air mobility.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is that Joby seems to be, out ahead.
In what way?
Well, just in terms of like the range of their aircraft.
Oh really?
150 miles on a single charge.
Why, that's a lot.
It is. I mean, think about it. That's like
That's crazy.
London to Paris without
Wow.
needing to refuel.
Okay, so you're telling me I could hop in an air taxi and go from London to Paris?
Well, that's the idea. And that opens up possibilities not just for urban travel, but, potentially regional travel as well.
That's wild. And I know you mentioned noise earlier, but cities are already so noisy.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
how do they make these things quiet enough to actually fly over cities?
Well, this is another area where Joby really stands out. They've really focused on quiet operation.
Okay.
Their aircraft are designed to produce only about 45 decibels of noise, which is
How loud is that?
about the same as a quiet conversation in a library.
Wow, that's pretty quiet.
Yeah, so you can imagine these things zipping around a city without creating a huge amount of noise pollution.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And it's a big differentiator compared to
Yeah.
those noisy helicopters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, helicopters are super annoying.
Right. So you can see why this is
Yeah.
a big focus for Joby.
Okay, so let's talk about partnerships because I know that Joby has teamed up with some big names,
They have.
like some real heavy hitters in the industry.
Yeah, and one of the most significant partnerships is with Toyota.
Oh yeah, the car company.
Right. And Toyota has invested a significant amount of money,
How much are we talking?
over $894 million.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
It is. And it's not just a financial investment. Toyota is also bringing its expertise in manufacturing
Okay.
to help Joby scale up production.
So they're not just giving them money, they're actually helping them build these things.
Exactly. They're working together to figure out how to mass produce these air taxis.
So that's the manufacturing side of things.
Hmm.
What about actually getting people into these air taxis?
Right. Well, that's where the partnership with Delta Airlines comes in.
Oh, interesting. So you could like book a flight on Delta and
You could, and then seamlessly add a Joby air taxi ride to get you to the airport.
Okay, so instead of sitting in traffic, you just hop in an air taxi.
You could be whisked from your doorstep to the airport.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing.
And that's the kind of experience they're aiming to create.
So is this what they call urban air mobility?
Yeah, it is. It's about making flying as accessible as ordering an Uber or a Lyft.
Okay, so I just like pull out my phone and like order an air taxi.
Well, in theory,
Huh.
yeah.
Okay.
And it starts with key markets like New York and Los Angeles.
Where the traffic is just horrendous.
Exactly. But the vision is much grander than that.
Yeah, okay. I'm sold. But let's talk about the timeline because this technology is still new.
Right.
And realistically, it's probably going to be a while before these things are actually making money.
Well, analysts are predicting that Joby could start generating meaningful revenue between 2027 and 2028.
Okay, so we're still a few years out.
Yeah,
But there's a lot they need to do before then.
a lot of milestones.
Like, what are the big hurdles?
Well, one of the biggest is getting approval from the FAA.
Oh, yeah, the Federal Aviation Administration.
They're the ones who set the safety standards for all aircraft in the U.S.
Yeah, of course.
And Joby is currently in stage 4 out of 5 in the FAA's certification process.
Wow, so they're actually pretty far along.
They are. But it's a very thorough process.
Yeah.
They're evaluating everything from the aircraft's design
Right.
to its manufacturing process to its performance and safety features.
It's like a full-on inspection.
It is. It's about making sure that these air taxis are safe to carry passengers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And even after they get FAA approval,
Okay.
they still need to figure out how to scale up production to meet the demand.
Right, because they're going to need a lot of these things.
A lot of them.
Wow.
And they have plans to ramp up production significantly.
Okay, how are they going to do that?
Well, they're aiming for monthly output by the end of 2025 at their facility in Marina, California.
Okay, and then what?
And they're also building a much larger facility in Dayton, Ohio,
Oh, wow.
that could produce hundreds of aircraft annually.
So they're really going all in on this.
They are. But with such ambitious plans come significant financial risks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's talk about that.
let's talk about money. So the good news is that Joby is starting from a position of strength. They have over $933 million in cash on hand.
Okay, that's a good chunk of change.
It is. And that gives them a solid runway to continue developing and deploying their technology.
Okay, but they can't just sit on that pile of money forever.
No, they can't. So they need to figure out ways to generate revenue before those air taxis are actually taking off with paying passengers.
Okay, so what's their plan?
Well, they've got a pretty clever multi-pronged approach going on.
Lay it on me.
First, they've secured some really good contracts with the U.S. Department of Defense.
Oh, interesting. So they're tapping into the defense market.
They are. These agreements bring in revenue, and they also provide valuable operational experience.
Okay, I see.
And it shows that their aircraft can be used for more than just transporting people.
Makes sense. So that's one prong. What's the other?
The other is international expansion.
Oh, right. They're partnering with companies overseas.
Exactly. Remember those partnerships with Jetex and Makamala Aviation?
Yeah?
Well, those are opening doors to key markets in the Middle East.
Okay, so they're going global.
They are. And that allows them to potentially start generating revenue in other countries while they wait for certification in the U.S.
Okay, that's smart. It's like hedging their bets.
Exactly. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Okay, but let's be real. The big money is going to come from those commercial air taxi services.
Right, eventually.
So what's their plan for that?
Well, their initial strategy is to focus on offering a premium air taxi experience.
Okay, so they're targeting like the high-end market.
Yes. Think business travelers, tourists, maybe even special occasions.
Okay, so like flying in style.
Exactly. But as they scale up and the technology matures, they expect to offer more competitive pricing.
Right. So eventually it'll become more affordable.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, so they've got the money, they've got the partnerships, they've got the vision, but there are always risks involved.
Always. Especially in an industry as revolutionary as this.
So what are some of the potential challenges they face?
Well, one significant risk is dilution.
Okay, remind me what that means.
It means that if they need to raise more capital, they might have to issue more shares.
Right.
And that could decrease the ownership percentage of existing shareholders.
So it's a trade-off.
It is. Growth often comes at a cost.
Okay, are there any other big risks investors should be aware of?
Well, the biggest one is the risk of bankruptcy.
Oh yeah, that's the elephant in the room.
It is. It's a harsh reality for any startup.
Yeah, especially one with such ambitious goals.
Exactly. And those upfront costs can be really significant.
Okay, so what could increase that risk for Joby?
Well, any major delays in getting FAA certification?
Makes sense.
Or any unexpected production issues?
Yeah, right.
Or if the market just doesn't adopt eVTOL services as quickly as they hope.
Okay, so it's a balancing act.
It is. They need to be aggressive, but they also need to be prudent.
Okay, so high risk, high reward.
Exactly. It's a gamble, but the potential payoff could be huge.
Well, we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive into Joby Aviation.
We have. We've looked at their technology, their partnerships, their plans for growth, and even the risks they face.
And it's clear that this is a company with a bold vision.
Very bold.
They're trying to revolutionize transportation as we know it.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And we'll be back in part 2 to delve even deeper into the competitive landscape and their path to profitability.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into Joby Aviation. You know, we've been talking about all the cool stuff they're doing.
Yeah, the tech, the partnerships, it's all very impressive.
But they're not the only ones in this eVTOL game.
Oh, right. There are a bunch of other companies trying to do the same thing.
Exactly. So let's look at the competitive landscape for a bit.
Yeah, who are they up against?
Well, there are a few big names like Archer, Lilium, EHang,
I've heard of those.
Volocopter even.
Oh, yeah, Volocopter. They have a cool name.
Yeah, they do. But what sets Joby apart from this crowd?
Yeah, is it just the range and the quiet engines?
I mean, those are big advantages for sure, but there's more to it than that.
Okay, like what?
Well, for one thing, Joby has been in this game for a long time.
Really? Like how long?
Since 2009.
Wow, okay, so they're not just some fly-by-night startup.
No, they've been at this for over 15 years.
That's a lot of time to refine their technology.
Exactly. They've been steadily innovating and building a world-class team.
So they have a lot of experience under their belt.
Tons. They've accumulated thousands of hours of test flight data.
That's got to be valuable.
It's hugely valuable. It gives them a deep understanding of the complexities of building and operating eVTOLs.
Okay, So experience is one thing. What about their actual aircraft? Like, what makes it so special?
Well, it's a really impressive piece of engineering.
Okay, I'm listening.
It combines range speed and quiet operation in a way that few others can match.
Okay, we've already talked about the 150-mile range, but how fast can this thing go?
Up to 200 miles per hour?
200 miles per hour. That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Imagine zipping across a city at that speed.
Yeah, it would be a huge time saver for commuters.
No more traffic jams.
Exactly. And they're achieving these speeds while still being incredibly quiet.
Yeah, you mentioned it's about as loud as a library.
Yeah, around 45 decibels.
It's kind of mind-blowing how they've managed to do all that.
It is. It's this combination of features that really sets them apart from the competition.
So they've nailed the design. But building these things must be incredibly complicated.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where Joby's approach to manufacturing gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
They've adopted a vertical integration model.
Vertical integration, what does that mean?
It means they're designing and manufacturing many of the critical components themselves.
Oh, wow. So they're not just
I-
outsourcing everything.
No, they're doing a lot in-house.
Why would they do that?
Well, they believe it gives them more control over quality, cost, and production timelines.
Okay, so it's about having their hands on the wheel.
Exactly. And it allows them to move faster and be more adaptable.
It's a bold move for sure.
It is. But it shows how committed they are to making this vision a reality.
So they're not just relying on other companies to build the pieces.
Nope, they're taking ownership of the whole process.
So what does this look like in practice?
Well, they've invested heavily in their manufacturing capabilities.
Okay.
Their pilot production facility in Marina, California is state-of-the-art.
What's happening inside this facility?
Well, for one thing, they're using advanced composite materials,
Like what?
primarily carbon fiber.
Oh, wow. Carbon fiber. That's high-tech stuff.
It is. It's incredibly strong and lightweight, which is perfect for aircraft.
Yeah, I've seen it used in race cars and stuff.
Exactly. It allows Joby to create aircraft structures that are both durable and efficient.
Okay, so they're using cutting-edge materials,
Mhm.
but can they actually scale up production to meet the potential demand?
That's the big challenge, isn't it?
It seems like a massive undertaking.
It is. And there are definitely risks involved.
Like what?
Well, managing the complexity of their supply chain is one thing.
Yeah, because even though they're doing a lot in-house, they still need certain materials and components from other companies.
Exactly. So they need to make sure those supply lines are reliable.
Otherwise, production could grind to a halt.
Right. And another challenge is accurately forecasting demand.
Oh, yeah, that's a tricky one.
They need to find that sweet spot between building enough aircraft to meet demand,
Right.
but not overproducing if the market isn't there yet.
It's a tough balancing act.
For sure.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about money. Everyone wants to know when Joby is actually going to start making money.
Right. The big question is, when will they be profitable?
Exactly. They've been investing heavily for years now.
And it's going to be a while before they see a return on that investment.
Okay, how long are we talking?
Well, analysts are predicting that Joby could become profitable sometime between 2027 and 2028.
Okay, so we're still a few years out.
Yeah. But in the meantime, their revenue is expected to grow significantly.
Okay, give me some numbers.
Well, in 2025, their revenue is projected to be relatively modest, maybe around $8.8 to $46.1 million.
Okay, so a slow start, but then what?
By 2026, it's expected to jump to somewhere between $54.1 and $152.3 million.
Okay, so things are picking up.
And then by 2027, they're projected to hit between $166.6 and $377 million.
Wow, those are some big jumps.
Yeah, the growth potential is huge.
Okay, so revenue is one thing, but what about actual profitability? Like, what needs to happen for them to get into the black?
Well, controlling costs is going to be crucial.
Right, they can't keep burning through cash at the rate they have been.
Exactly. Their net loss for 2024 was over $500 million.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not sustainable.
No, it's not. So they need to find ways to become more efficient.
And their vertical integration strategy should help with that.
Yeah, it should give them more control over manufacturing costs.
Okay, but it's not just about production costs, right?
Yeah.
They also have all those operating expenses.
Right. Things like personnel marketing and infrastructure, all that adds up.
So they need to manage their growth carefully.
Absolutely. They need to find that balance between expanding aggressively and staying financially stable.
It's a delicate dance.
It is. And of course, their profitability will depend heavily on their ability to generate revenue from passenger services.
Right, those air taxis need to start flying with paying customers.
Exactly. The sooner they can ramp up commercial operations, the better.
Okay, so A lot is riding on those air taxis actually taking off.
There is. But even with a solid plan and a talented team, there are always risks.
Yeah, we talked about dilution earlier, but what about the big one, bankruptcy?
Right, that's always a possibility, especially for a startup in such a new and unproven industry.
So what could increase that risk for Joby?
Well, any delays in FAA certification would be a big blow,
Yeah, that would push back their commercial launch.
and it would put a strain on their finances.
And what about production challenges?
Those could also be problematic, if they can't build enough aircraft to meet demand,
Right.
or if they run into unexpected supply chain issues.
And let's not forget about the market itself. Like, what if people are just not ready to embrace air taxis?
That's a huge unknown.
Yeah, what if they build all these amazing aircraft and nobody wants to fly in them?
Right, then it's all for nothing.
It's a big gamble for sure.
It is. But the potential rewards are enormous.
Okay, so high risk, high reward.
Exactly. Investing in Joby is a bet on the future of transportation.
It's a bet on a future where we're all zipping around in flying cars.
Well, maybe not flying cars, but flying taxis.
Flying taxis, yeah, it's still pretty futuristic.
It is, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive into Joby Aviation.
We have. We've looked at their competitive landscape, their manufacturing process, and their path to profitability.
And it's clear that this is a company with a lot of potential,
Massive potential.
but also a lot of challenges ahead.
Yeah, there are definitely hurdles to overcome.
But hey, that's what makes it exciting, right?
Absolutely.
We'll be back in part 3 to explore the broader implications of this technology and what it could mean for our cities and our lives. All right, so we're back, and we've spent the last 2 parts really digging into Joby Aviation.
Yeah, all the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, but now I kind of want to zoom out a little bit, like, think bigger picture.
Okay.
What does this whole eVTOL thing actually mean for our cities, like for the future of transportation?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, right? We're not just talking about a new type of aircraft.
Right.
We're talking about a potential paradigm shift in how we experience urban life.
Okay, I like where this is going. Paint me a picture. What does this future look like?
Well, imagine a city where the sky isn't just something you look at.
Yeah.
It's an active part of the transportation network.
Okay.
You've got these sleek, quiet air taxis zipping between buildings, rooftops, dedicated vertiports.
Vertiports?
Yeah, like little mini airports for eVTOLs.
Oh, okay.
And it's a city where distance is less of a barrier. Commutes are measured in minutes, not hours.
So you're saying I could get across town in like 10 minutes?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, think about the impact on traffic congestion.
Oh, yeah. That would be a game changer.
Right. No more sitting in traffic wasting time and fuel.
It would be so much less stressful, too.
Exactly. People would have more time for leisure, for family.
For life.
Right. And it's not just about individual commuters.
Okay.
Think about the impact on the city as a whole.
Yeah.
Urban air mobility could revitalize underserved areas by providing quick and efficient connections to the city center.
Okay, so it could actually make cities more equitable.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It could create new economic opportunities and make the city more accessible for everyone.
That's a pretty compelling vision. But I have to ask, what about safety?
Right. Safety is obviously paramount.
Yeah, I mean, flying cars sounds cool, but it also sounds kind of scary.
Well, Joby and other companies in this space are taking safety very seriously.
Okay.
They're building in redundant systems, rigorous testing regimes, comprehensive pilot training.
So they're trying to minimize the risks as much as possible.
Absolutely. They know that public trust is essential for this industry to succeed.
Makes sense. But what about air traffic management? I mean, how do you prevent these things from crashing into each other?
Well, that's where technology comes in.
Yeah.
They're developing these sophisticated air traffic management systems that can monitor and coordinate eVTOL traffic in real time.
So it's like air traffic control, but for flying taxis.
Exactly. It's all about ensuring safe and efficient operations.
That sounds incredibly complex.
It is, but they're using advanced algorithms and real-time data to make it work.
So they're basically creating a whole new infrastructure in the sky.
In a way, yeah. And they're also thinking about the physical infrastructure on the ground.
Right, like where do these things actually take off and land?
Exactly. We're going to need a network of vertiports.
Vertiports, those little mini airports we talked about.
Right, and they could be located on rooftops, parking garages, or even integrated into existing transportation hubs.
So you could potentially hop off a train and straight into an air taxi?
Exactly. It's about creating seamless connections between different modes of transportation.
That's pretty cool, but I imagine building all this infrastructure is going to be a challenge.
It will be, but it's not insurmountable.
Oh.
They're exploring ways to integrate vertiports into the existing urban fabric.
So they wouldn't necessarily be these big eyesores?
No, they could be designed to blend in with the surroundings.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
And let's be honest, there's a certain coolness factor to this whole thing.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, who hasn't dreamed of flying cars?
Right. It feels like we're on the cusp of something truly futuristic.
We are. It's an exciting time to be alive.
But amidst all this excitement, we have to be realistic. This technology is still in its infancy.
Oh, for sure. There are a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, and we need to proceed with caution.
Absolutely. We need to be mindful of the potential impact on noise pollution, energy consumption.
Social equity, even.
Right. We need to make sure that this technology benefits everyone, not just a select few.
It's about using technology to create a better future for all.
Exactly. And that requires careful planning and thoughtful consideration.
Yeah, it's not just about building cool gadgets.
Right. It's about using those gadgets to solve real-world problems and improve people's lives.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
I hope so. It's a complex and fascinating topic.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Joby Aviation and the future of urban air mobility.
It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, and I think we're all still trying to wrap our heads around what this future might look like.
It's exciting and a little bit scary all at the same time.
But that's what makes it so compelling, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
Thanks for joining us.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the world of cutting-edge technology and innovation.
And until next time, keep looking up.